Hi there guys, welcome back to I Can't Witch Without, and this week is I Can't Witch Without Willow. And I decided to encompass all of Willow into this video. So in shot we have some of the leaves from a willow tree on my village green which I collected, and there were these beautiful willow branches all on the floor, so I brought them back. And in the centre is a beautiful white willow bark that my dear friend sent me, and then we have the ogham in both the stave and the card form within the circle. So as always, the I Can't Witch Without series is not to say that you must own anything. It's not that sort of video. The idea behind the I Can't Witch Without series is that it's drawing into sharp relief things that I use regularly in my practice, their magical meanings, their healing meanings, how I utilise them and why. Just to share that information, just because I think it's interesting to talk about it, and hopefully other people might find it interesting too. Okay. So, as far as ogham and trees are concerned, willow might be a surprise to people who know me. It's not the ogham with the, well, some of them have a really strong call, and willow or seil really does have a strong call for me, but then things like hawthorn and silver birch are above and beyond. However, this week willow has been of the utmost importance, and therefore it seems natural and fitting to do this video about them. So I'm going to read the magical properties from the two reference books first and foremost, just because it's a good place to start, I guess, and have a point of reference, a jumping off point. So first up is the Compendium of Herbal Magic. Okay, willow, moon, Saturn, Neptune, funeral herb, herb of immortality, herb of protection, magical herb, religious herb, invocational of Aino, Artemis, Circe, Diana, Hecate, Hera, Hermes, Orpheus and Persephone. I don't know if I'm saying Persephone right, I always get it wrong. Anyway, law. Oh, he's got some family history on there. Just trying. The virtue of the willow was long ago recognized by the Chinese, because even the smallest piece of willow is able to bring forth another living tree. It is said that the Hebrew peoples in Babylon, while wandering on their long journey, came to a willow which reminded them of home. They hung their harps upon it and mourned the loss of their homeland. Graves writes in The White Goddess that the willow was of great importance in the worship of Jehovah at Jerusalem, and the great day of the feast of Tabernacles, a fire and water ceremony, was called the Day of the Willows. The willow is sacred to Hecate, Hermes, and all deities of the underworld. It is said to be a herb which will provide a safe journey into the other world. Orpheus turned to the willow when passing through the underworld to receive the virtue of eloquence, which I'm apparently missing right this second. While in the gardens of Persephone, he placed his hand upon one of her magical willows to receive this gift. Graves places the willow as the letter S or Seil in the tree alphabet and writes the following in The White Goddess. The fifth tree is the willow, or Osea, which in Greece was sacred to Hecate, Circe, Hera, and Persephone. I don't know what the matter is with me, I think I was sick of water. death aspects of the triple moon goddess. Its connection with witches is so strong in Northern Europe that the same words for witch and wicked are derived from the ancient word for willow, which also yields Wicca. The druidical human sacrifices were offered at the full moon in wicker baskets. According to Pliny, a willow tree grew outside the Cretan cave where Zeus was born. The wearing of willow in a hat is a sign of the rejected lover, seems to be originally a charm against the moon goddess's jealousy. The willow is sacred to her for many reasons. Fraser writes that the gypsy people of Romania bring the willow into their celebration of Green George, observed at the spring equinox. Green George, according to the Golden Bowl, is a youth chosen to dress in green leaves representing the green man. He offers grass to the animals to ensure plenty of food for the livestock, and then he takes 3 nails which have lain for 3 days and nights in water and knocks them into willow, after which he pulls them out and flings them into a running stream to propitiate the water spirits. This is believed to provide healing for the tribe during the coming year. Old pagan lore of Finland connects the willow tree with the goddess Aino, whose myth is told in the entry for the birch. In her tale, the willow arises out of her ribs and remains sacred to her. Ouch. Usage. Another variety of willow always popular during the spring season is the pussy willow, which was deemed ideal for the druids for charms and protections. There are many types of willow, and they all make excellent magical wands. Some legends maintain that Hera, who rose in prominence from being First Lady when Zeus ruled the pantheon to becoming a widely worshipped goddess in her own right, was born by a willow. It's interesting because there is counterbalancing arguments that Hera was older than that pantheon, but there we go. Patroness of women everywhere, we may use willow to seek patronage in all of the communication arts, especially for those who do any public speaking, and is a wonderful herb for bards. As a funeral herb, planting a willow during your lifetime is said to protect you when you finally take leave of your body. The willow, or a direct descendant through a cutting, must be thriving at your death. Graves calls the willow a tree of enchantment. Willow is the herb to use with rock crystal to charge the stone and give it protective and healing virtues. And then from Cunningham's Encyclopedia, again, feminine moon water. He gives the deities as Artemis, Ceres, Hecate, Persephone, Hera, Mercury, Bellinius. Powers for love, divination, protection and healing. Ritual uses. Burial mounds in Britain were often lined with willows when they were sited near marshes and lakes, probably for symbolic associations with death. Magical uses. Willow leaves are carried or used in mixtures to attract love, and the wood is used to fashion magical wands dedicated to moon magic. If you wish to know if you will be married in the new year, on New Year's Eve, throw your shoe into a willow tree. If it doesn't catch and stay in the branches the first time, you will have 8 more tries. If you succeed in trapping your shoe in the tree, you will be wed within 12 months, but you'll also have to shake or climb the tree to retrieve your shoe. I wouldn't recommend that. Interesting, Cunningham, interesting. All parts of the willow guard against evil and can be carried or placed in the home for this purpose. Knock on a willow tree, knock on wood, to avert evil. The leaves, bark and wood of the willow are utilised in healing spells. If you wish to conjure spirits, mix crushed willow bark with sandalwood and burn at the waning moon outdoors. Magical brooms, especially witches' brooms, are traditionally bound with a willow branch. Okay, so that's a little bit of lore and magical purposes in how to incorporate Willow into your magical workings in herbal sachets, or carrying it with you, or incenses and things of that nature. For me, Willow started becoming even more involved in my life when I took up the ogham. But before that, it is the magical... I don't know if it's the magical name. My sister and I named each other after a tree, and I was Rowan and she was Willow. And it wasn't necessarily our magical names, you get the whole top secret magical name thing, but we just sort of used to refer to each other as a tree. I think we might be weird, thinking back on it. I don't know if it was just... I think at the time it was code, because we were both interested in the pagan path and we weren't really allowed to talk about it. And we had all sorts of weird quirks, me and my middle sister. And we had a really close relationship, so nobody really even paid any attention, because we were like that anyway. We were considered daft anyway, but it was a strong bonding experience for me and my sister. And she was Willow and I was Rowan. So it kind of has that close association with my sister, and oddly enough, my sister's name starts with S, so she probably picked better than I did. Is there even one for J? I don't... Let's see what J is. Is J not in here? No. I wonder what Joanne would be then. Maybe I would have been Rowan. But that's Roselda. Loan, maybe. Well, in the absence of J, let's say it would have been Loan, and that's why, because Rowan is Lewis, or R. Anyway, so once I started embracing my Celtic path with the ogham in particular, Willow was the first one that I pulled, and I had some profound experiences with Willow. I very much felt the water energy from Willow. I very much felt the healing vibration from Willow. I had a really strong meditation whereby the 9 Morgans of Avalon, or the 9 Ladies of Avalon, or the 9 Priestesses of Avalon, who are deemed by some to be the 9 faces of Morrigan in sort of a healing capacity, in that sort of mythos with tying into Avalon. And it's something I really want to keep going back to and keep progressing through and keep reconnecting with, because it was a beautiful healing experience, and it was Willow and Ivy in particular that brought those to the fore, those energies. And presumably because it is so feminine, that it keyed into those divine feminine energies. And to me, the 9 priestesses of Avalon are so tied up to the idea of a moon element within the Morrigan, a different aspect of her, perhaps a excuse me, the lunar perhaps aspect of her, the lunar way of looking at her, the softer element, the more priestess element, which people tend to ignore, gloss over, or not even explore, because they're too focused on the idea of her being a warrior or a maiden of death and all those very almost solar powered energies, because Macha in particular is solar. So for me, the Willow brings me back to those lunar energies, those feminine energies, the sisterhood of the Morrigan. So let's read some of the ogham meanings as well while we are on that thread. So the chart of general ogham meanings from the Spirit of Old paper: feminine energy, fertility, psychic powers, intuition, cunning, new forces, enchantment. And then from Woodfield's book, Intuition, Psychic Flashes, The Influence of the Moon, Secrets Revealed. What's this say? The botanical name for this tree, salix, comes from the Celtic word sail, meaning near, and lease, meaning water, referring to the willow's love of growing in marshes and along riverbanks. The Celts were fond of leaving offerings to the gods in rivers and other bodies of water. Rivers were seen as doorways where one could enter the other worlds and communicate with the gods. In the word ogham of Marae Machnoin, the phrase hue of the not living is connected to this ogham, referring to Sail's connection to the spirit realm rather than death. Psychic work, enhancing your psychic senses, and moon rituals. All of which ties in, I guess, beautifully. And finally we've got from the book The Celtic Tree Oracle. The willow in the tree alphabet stands for the female and lunar rhythms of life. She is a water seeker, thriving preference on the damp margins of lakes and streams, which we've already read plenty about. Water and the tidal movements of the sea are governed by the pull of the moon. The moon in its monthly rhythms is considered female. I always feel a little bit contradictory whenever I read that, because I think the masculine and feminine is present within both. If we can have masculine and feminine solar goddesses, which we clearly do, given I've already named one in this video, which is Macha, or the mother figure of Morrigan, then obviously we're going to have lunar male counterparts. Dum da dum da dum. In several ways, the Celts held women in higher regard than we do today. On the material level, women were property owners, and whoever controlled the property controlled marriage. Women of all types and ages appeared in the Celtic pantheon, the spiritual strength and life-giving qualities given by both female and male recognised equally. There are many colleges of druidesses, learned women and teachers, respected for their gifts of seership, often expressed through dreams or night vision. The goddess Brigid, one of whose attributes is of a seer, has her festival, her fire festival in fact, during the Willow month. This festival, Imbolc or Brigantia, is one of the 2 female fire festivals along the yearly cycle of 4. The willow is additionally sacred to the moon goddess who rules this month. The willow also offers protection against damp diseases. And then that's a reading of the divinational card, which is sort of just saying what we've been talking about. For me, whenever I connect with willow energies, there is a huge energy of healing involved. That's the primary energy I do get from this tree, herb, however you sort of engage with it. I think tree is probably the correct word, but then we have bark and leaves and things, of components of tree. So for me, primarily with the water element, the moon element, it really has that resonation of healing and deep healing, deep emotional healing, going into the waters to be healed, which is an image which is symbolically found, in a lot of spiritual paths, not just one. I mean, I could name them from other religious or spiritual paths, but I'll leave that to you. And the idea of water being the sort of healing conduit is a very old one. I have always held high regard for water and healing, and obviously human beings being mostly water, it kind of makes sense that we almost go into water to feel a little bit more whole, a little bit more relaxed. It's obviously not where we live, we're not made for that, but there's something very calming about water and something deeply very mysterious, and both of these energies connect up to the willow beautifully. Water is in essence the only place on earth that we haven't fully explored yet in the physical realm, I guess is the best way of putting that. And Willow has that divine mystery, that lunar cycle, that psychic sense, that unknown, that something other about it. And I think you can say that about the water energies as well. Life-giving and in balance. It's interesting that Willow is so connected with death, and my mother used to have a go at my sister for liking willow trees because it was a death tree, and I've never felt it was just purely a death tree, but then again I connect with a goddess who some people see as a pure death goddess, so maybe it would never bother me anyway. But one of the most spiritual places that I first felt a real connection to was in a park near my nana's house, and there was a collection of trees, but there was this stone bench, and it was literally a stone slab on top of two other stone slabs beneath this huge willow tree, and it was like walking into the world of the Fae, or a different world entirely, because the light was coming through, but it was coming through all of this willow tree, and it was like being encircled by something other, and it was just such a spiritual place that I used to love going for a walk and sitting in. And unfortunately, I ever since have never seen one that quite that big. The one near here is reasonably large, but it's right next to a main road, so yeah. It wasn't as large as that one. That one was something else, and it really has that doorway element to me, to allow you to walk into another world almost. And given that the Celts believed that the willow sort of was associated, excuse me, with the other world, then that kind of connects and makes sense. And I think that's going to be it for today's video. There's quite a lot of information there, and a little bit of me reminiscing. So that's it for today's video. Many blessings.